Hi,
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome everybody to RoseNthorn Talk, episode 5. My name is Aaron Marshall Clark, and my special guest today is entrepreneur, public speaker, business consultant, CEO and founder of Kismet Ideas, Miss Paige Battcher. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm well. Thank you so much for the nice introduction.
You're welcome. My pleasure. So we're going to go into a lot of detail about services you offer with your business, your rise as an entrepreneur, and everything in between. So we're going to start right off with Kentucky. A lot of us have our own ideas of what Kentucky looks like, what it's like growing up in Kentucky, but you're actually from Louisville, Kentucky, born and raised.
Yeah.
Tell us what growing up in the bluegrass state was like.
Oh, peaceful, kind. We are the kind of city where people will, join arms and bring out a potluck if there's ever a crisis. Which is why I think it's been particularly interesting to see how our city has evolved with the recent protests. But definitely grew up in a very wholesome, kind of family from the baby boomer era where my mom and dad are like one of 7 children apiece. And it's been really nice. Traveled the world a bunch and then found myself gravitated and magnetized back to the city.
Right. Now, with traveling, once you left Louisville, Kentucky, you did travel, as we talked before, travel for about 8 years, from what I gather, and various locations within the United States and abroad. Now, tell us how that helped to build character and embrace your independence while traveling, while learning, and what those experiences were like.
Oh, yeah, amazing. Thank you for asking that. So, I spent some time in the Netherlands, which reminded me that not every culture is totally bound by car traffic. So, I did a lot of biking in the Netherlands and exploring different plant medicine and all sort of things, like learning about the world. And then I lived in Thailand for a while. That really taught me that the privileges and the independence we have as Americans is not necessarily the same that people feel across the world. And that for me specifically reminded me that as a woman and as an American woman, like I have to continue to define my own independence and what I'm capable of. As well as my feeling that we are really meant to be a part of a global ecosystem where we show up as our best selves, not just to represent some sort of patriarchy or patriotism, but really showing up as a human being on a collective planet. So that's part of that. I did film school in Brazil, spent some time down there, and then spent about 6 years in California. So I think overall, it's given me a sense that I can try anything. I can go anywhere. I can meet anyone and become friends with anyone and find some common ground. And just really the feeling that anything's possible. Because I think some people who never travel, they sort of see their possibilities as like in this box. And so I just eyes wide open sort of feeling.
Did you miss home at all during that whole time?
Yeah, in the 6th year of living in California, I missed home, and that's what brought me back. So I moved back and realized that I can always travel from a home base, but being near my family is really helpful. Have you done a lot of travel?
Throughout the United States, I have family in Florida, as well as North Carolina, Maryland, Massachusetts, Connecticut. It's been a while since I've been to any of those states. Within Canada, yes, more so travel and lived in quite a few different provinces. I've been in Manitoba now and Winnipeg here. Home base and born and bred in York and Saskatchewan. Went to university, got a Bachelor of Science in Business Operations in Calgary. I was there for 5 years and lived in Nunavut, which is neighboring the Yukon. So it's our Alaska, let's put it that way. Very cultural, very clean air, very hospitable. And thank you for asking that as well. But within Canada, yes, there's still a lot of destinations I still have to go, as well as the United States and abroad. It's just a matter of timing and making time for it and taking a break.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So with being your own boss, was it something you determined when you were a child as you grew into your teen years, into an adult? And is it a family trait to be your own boss, to be self-employed?
Yes. Well, so I'll work backwards from that because it is something I saw at a young age. My parents created a franchise when I was a child. And what that looked like back in the day, in the 90s, was they basically had to take out a second mortgage on their home in order to buy the franchise rights in order to start the business. So that was my idea of what it looked like to start a business. And years later, after graduate school, I stumbled my way into being my own boss, because I always thought that I wanted to be. But you know how we always try and make sure it's the perfect time and that we feel like we're perfectly ready to go out there and do the thing that we're called to do? I got laid off, and I was at the unemployment office signing up for my unemployment check, and I saw the Chamber of Commerce sign, and I just took that as a sign to go start my business then and there. And I started when I wasn't ready at all. And but I always kind of thought that I would be my own boss, and it's definitely been its like feeling of, what are we creating? Wow, this is amazing. Oh my God, what am I doing? Wow, it's amazing. So it's a little bit of everything.
Was this during your university years, prior to, after?
This was after I graduated. So I got 2 masters from USC in Los Angeles, and got the job. You know, like I got the really nice job with the benefits package and the cool office and the really rad employees and like the coworkers, and like they had surfboards in the office, and I thought I was supposed to be totally stoked and happy and take my salary, my paycheck, and commute in, commute out, do the same routine. And I wasn't super happy. And so I left that first job after grad school, and I thought, I'm not built for this. And I joined a startup, and the startup, as startups sometimes do, folded. And then I found myself at the unemployment office, and I thought, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do my own thing.
Wow. Now, was it the logistics that you took, was the takeaway, say, from the corporate world? Because I was a banker for 10 years here for a reputable bank in Canada here, actually the biggest bank in Canada, RBC. And I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about communication, hence why this is so natural for me. I learned a lot about the logistics on how to operate a business, hence my degree is in that. But at the same time, it's the people you work with that make the atmosphere. We're going to touch base with that more in detail in a few moments. But was it takeaway just perhaps how to run your, how to take the blueprint from a corporation and apply it to your own business, or was that not even part of the equation?
That wasn't even a part of the equation. I think I joined my first 9-to-5 corporate job just out of the expectation of what I thought the world wanted for me and what I thought my parents would expect was the natural thing to do after grad school. And I just realized that I was such a travel junkie and such a wanderlust that only being able to have 12 paid days of vacation to travel wasn't going to work for me. And of course, I saw the world of digital nomads and online entrepreneurs just exploding. So I just knew I wanted to do it. And I think it was only happenstance that I just got antsy in that office that led me to, you know, trying new things and taking the risk to get me where I am today.
Yeah, I can relate to that. That's why I chuckle. I totally related to that. And that's why it's about really chasing your passions and expanding on those, because there's so many in the world that have the exact same passions that we don't even know about. And that's the whole point, right? So when it comes to speaking languages, because you spoke about the Netherlands, Thailand as well, as far as I gather, you know 3 languages, is that correct?
Oh gosh. Falo um pouco de português. I speak a little bit of Portuguese, a tiny infant level amount of Thai, and that's about it. But I would say I was conversational in all of those languages when I lived there. And then if you don't use it, you lose it. So I would never say that I'm bilingual, and I admire people that are.
Yeah, likewise. Now, was it for personal use when you were learning these languages while you were in these countries, or is it, can you apply it to business at this point in time, or would you be interested in applying it to business?
Oh, that's a really great question. I've never thought of having the business that would be totally bilingual in both languages, but man, I'm open to that. I really love language because it allows me to connect with people on a deeper level. People love when you attempt to speak their language, even if you sound like a child who gets their words backwards and like speaks sentences in fractions. Like, people love it when you try. So our vision and our mission for our clients as a web design and marketing agency is we do, or we're gearing up for, I should say, but I'm using my manifestation powers to say that we're already doing it. But one time a year, a retreat that's international. So we're going places like Brazil, where we will all speak as much Portuguese as we can at the time. We'll go places like Thailand where we'll figure out the first few words. Like I've landed in cities before in Italy, Austria, Czech Republic, where, you know, my first task is to learn the top 20 words that I can fit into my head so that I can go out there and say those so that I can build at least some amount of rapport with the people I'm interacting with. So if that answers your question, it's definitely going to be something that's social for us always.
Yes, for sure. Now, I'm going to read a quote you made on your social media. We don't choose, and I quote, we don't choose our classmates in school. We normally can't choose our coworkers in the corporate world, but as entrepreneurs, you can. Now, what steps do you take to teach that to entrepreneurs who are starting and walking in your footsteps once upon a time when you began?
Yes. Okay. So entrepreneurs that are in their first or second year, they're always toggling this question mark between, can I afford to hire, or can I afford to keep wearing every single hat and doing all the madness completely by myself? Right. And so some of the things that I tell them to approach it with is two things. One, the universe is going to define its way to align with you, to introduce you to the people. I've been surprised over time that people just come to me and say, do you need help with this thing? And I'm like, whoa, that's remarkable, because I was just thinking that I needed somebody to help me with that. And then the second thing is redefining what it looks like to work with people all around the world. And I think this is one of the things that travel has opened me up to, because if I had just been a Kentucky girl, never left this state, I would have the same rhetoric that my parents have, which is don't take our American jobs, don't send it overseas. But I don't feel that way. I know that I have team members in Bangladesh. I have team members in Pakistan. We have team members that are local here in Kentucky. And so I always encourage the early entrepreneur to start thinking globally when it comes to finding the talent that can help them build a business, because $10 an hour might be triple the minimum wage in Bangladesh. And it might be all you can afford at the time, and you still have really talented people that can help you, you know, build and grow your vision.
As an entrepreneur, is it difficult to ask for help, quote unquote help being just additional resources or additional men or women on deck, so to speak? Is it difficult to do that at the beginning stages, or once you gain some experience and start becoming a vet at this?
Oh, great question. Yeah, I think it is. I think what goes through the average person's mind is either only I can do it this good, or I don't know if I can afford it yet. So, you know, the affordability thing is a chicken and egg, because it's the mindset around there's not enough money. Oh, there's not enough money. Oh, there's not enough money. There's not enough money. So that one is definitely money blocks and mindset shifts that people can make, to realize that when you invest more in your team, you're investing more in your vision, and it's all going to come back. The part where you think that you're the best person for the job and you're the only one who can do it, that for me is the thing that we've started to help our clients with when it comes to building systems. Because if you do have this brilliant expertise and you're afraid that it's going to take up too much time, too much effort, nobody will quite get it right, that's all about creating those systems and putting those in place. So we sort of indirectly help our clients by showing them our system of creating beautiful websites, graphic design, funnel pages. And as they're building with us, it starts like building new connections in their mind of, oh, here's how I can actually hire someone to get this stuff off my plate in a way that it's all documented, and I can have better expectation of the work product I'm going to get in the end.
Excellent. Excellent definition of what that experience has been like. Now, you spoke at University of UCLA, I'll just say it that way, yes. And it was 2018. And when you did speak, it was at the Why the World Needs More Women Entrepreneurs. And that is true to form. That is a fact. I agree. Now, how excited or nervous were you for that speech?
I was actually really terrified. I decided that the best way to build up my stage presence and not be worried was to just walk around the streets of LA and recite my speech on the sidewalks just out in the public.
Just as people walking by and such. Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, just complete strangers just walking around, and I recited that. So I was nervous, and I will say this too, not just because I actually really do love public speaking, and I do love presentations, and I love sharing my message, obviously, you know, right here is an example of that. The thing that caught me up and made me the most afraid was the way I was talking about the traditional education system, because it's both built who I am and it's also equally flawed. So I was pointing out how the traditional system doesn't necessarily facilitate what it takes to become an entrepreneur. And I was also looking at how women are raised as children versus young boys. And just thinking about that structure, that's what got me most afraid, because I thought, am I sort of like throwing dirt on something that got me to where I am, even though I know that things can be improved in that system. And so that was my biggest thing, was just thinking about what other people would think. And isn't that kind of the story for our lives, where we're always wondering what other people are going to think and what it's going to mean for us. And sometimes we will let that hold us back from saying or speaking our truth.
And it can impact our decisions moving forward, because then there's that hesitation I was mentioning earlier. It applies to a lot of things. And I think we've all had to deal with that or succumb to it, but grown from it and evolved from it as well. Now, here's a question regarding just what you had mentioned with the curriculums. Because you're a CEO and founder of your own business, and that is your concentration, would you be interested, though, if UCLA or USC or ABC or XYZ University called upon you to teach courses on the modern day entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah. I really think they should. And it was a conversation I was having with another professor friend of mine who teaches entrepreneurship. And I said, outside of that little bubble of what you guys do, there are still so many courses from a university perspective that are theoretical. They're built to satisfy some accreditation board, so that they can have like the top accredited such and such master's program or bachelor's program. And they're not necessarily directly applicable to how life works today. And I mean, I'm seeing it as an issue from the really successful universities in California all the way down to small state schools. For instance, we are hiring right now, in the process of hiring a graphic designer who just got a graphic design bachelor's degree. And you'd be surprised the things that they're explaining in the classroom that aren't actually the things that a real true life graphic designer is doing in the field these days. So just things like that, really reforming it from a perspective shift of not everyone in those university seats are going to go into being somebody's employee, and looking at, I think from a professor standpoint, really asking themselves, like, is this out of a textbook, or is this really applicable to what somebody's going to do once they graduate?
Yeah, excellent analogy on that. Now, what made you choose USC of all the schools? So out of all the 50 states here in Canada, we have a lot less than that. Like, we have the provinces and such, but the numerical value is a lot less. Like, you had anywhere to go. Why USC for your urban planning and for your degree in your other masters of arts, right? So
yeah.
What would you choose? Well, both in Masters of Arts. What made you choose USC?
I think it chose me. So I was very high achieving, always doing Division I sports, had to have the best grades, wanted to go to the best schools. So at the time, I wanted to be an urban planner, and I just basically took the top 10 schools in the entire entire US, I should say, and I applied for all of them. I got into 6 of them, and I toured and visited. And I decided USC, but I think it chose me, because here's what happened. And I think that this is such a philosophy for everyone, is if you think you know the exact path, but you're on the path and it starts to feel like it's wrong, be willing to change and adjust. So I was there at USC and studying urban planning, and I realized this doesn't feel in alignment anymore. I'm not interested in a job working at a local government office, you know, signing a permit for the local building, you know, code. And this doesn't feel like me. This isn't quite right. And so I was what I was doing was I was creating websites because I thought urban planning meant you communicate with the neighborhoods and you start to create like, you know, social change, and you have conversations and you create urban experiences through
Right.
what I believed was the medium of the time, which is websites. And so my professors were totally confused. And this is where I know that it was deeply aligned for me to be there. I
Mhm.
met another man who said, you should join our digital journalism program. We would love for you to build websites. We would love for you to tell stories of places. We're going to send you down to different parts of LA and to Chinatown and, you know, and
Right.
Santa Monica. We're going to put a camera in your hand and a tripod. And I was like, these are my people. This is my thing I'm going to do. And I got a chance to host live television in LA and did 4 television shows that I hosted out there. And so I think it's just following your gut. And then as you get new messages, being willing to then shift and follow those.
Not only, that's amazing, because not only did the professors see your vision of what your interpretation of urban planning was, and then how you open up the conversation with the journalism, which is your other Master of Arts, and they go hand in hand in the sense of they did accomplish what you wanted them to do, and it brings that awareness for you as an entrepreneur with your travels as well in dealing with different cultures and different workers and so on and so forth. That's amazing. That's an amazing combination of the skills set that you've learned, and just being able to apply that as an entrepreneur, because you wouldn't per se be able to do that in the quote unquote corporate world, right? So
Yeah.
2 years ago, you challenged yourself to encourage, inspire, and accomplish and help 1,000 women reach their calling in becoming entrepreneurs. Where does it stand with that goal now? Has it been accomplished? And if so, what was or were the keys to success on that?
Oh, that is so beautiful. Aaron, thank you for bringing that back up. You've dug deep here. I would say, humbly speaking, that is a recommitment for me. And I am, you know, I'm at like 100 out of 1,000. And I can tell you all the reasons how I've gotten in my own way, how I've dimmed my own light, and not fully believed in my worthiness to accomplish that goal. So I can't tell you what a blessing it is for you to bring that up for me, because that still is very much the goal is alive. I don't consider it mission accomplished yet, and I also still see it as a stepping stone to even a larger goal, because I know that supporting and empowering women is what supports and empowers young boys, young girls whose mothers are more confident. And I know that it empowers grown men because it's their partners and their sisters and their nephews and their nieces that are now more empowered, right? And so I know it can play a really important part in this world. So thank you for reminding me of that. I would say we are re-gearing and retooling our efforts so that we can present more of our offers to the world. And specifically speaking, I spent the last 2 years kind of dipping my toe in the online advertising world, in the Facebook marketing world, in the running ads world, and now I'm just like running full-fledged. So I feel like this goal of mine that is still very much alive is so much more possible now than ever before.
Amazing. Now, empowered women empower women was a post you made on your Instagram page. What does equality in the workplace look like to you in 2020?
Gosh, can we talk about equality in the world, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, well, I believe obviously in salary equality and equality of pay, no matter where you're coming from. What I mean by that is if you're doing the same skill or the same workload as someone else, you really should be paid equally, and creating transparency in that. And I also I believe in more unity, because I think what we're doing is, whether or not we think that we are more qualified or more important than someone with a different gender or a different skin color, all we're doing is creating this separation and this divide and this division. And so I have been following a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've ever seen him.
I've heard of, yes.
Yeah, and I'm watching his show called Rewired, which is about quantum physics and rewiring your brain and remapping it. And he talks about, and this is going like really kind of deep and not really necessarily about the workforce specifically, but I think it's an extension of everything we do because we spend the majority of our lives on this planet working to some capacity. So anyway, he's talking about really tapping into this universal life force, the field, the energy, the frequency that, you know, creates electricity, for instance, and that it's in all of us. And so every time I think about women's rights, gay rights, you know, right, Black Lives Matter, I think about all of these things. I think that they are all this feeling for us as a human race where we're just like separating. We're like, oh, well, I'm this and you're that. I've done this. I went to that school. I got this thing and you're that. And we forget that we are actually all from the exact same magnetic, energetic force field. Like your success is my success. My success is your success. And I think that it is a completely different viewpoint from a past generation where it was all about climbing the ladder, getting the stuff, having the material, being better, competing. And now I really believe that it's about collaboration over competition and it's about unity over division. And I'm probably like preaching to the choir, but that's how I feel today.
No, absolutely. No, and that's fine. And it's a lot about making those same decisions. The hesitation, there should be no hesitation, but there should be a realization of, is this really worth one's time? Pursuing something that just to chase the Joneses, right? Just to have the bigger house, just to have the bigger, those things will come, but they don't matter at the end of the day. It matters on communication with people. Communication is the key to life, really. Because if we can't do that, how are we ever going to solve anything? That could be from a political standpoint, could be from a business standpoint, personal standpoint. When there's lack of communication, then everything needs to be rewired, as for mentioned. So no, I hear you on that, and it's a great approach to it because as entrepreneurs, is that hard to or difficult to for them to comprehend in the early stages, for example, like year 1, year 2, like we were talking earlier. Just that move things and not just competing with the next entrepreneur, but just seeing that there's more help by asking and there's more help by being a team.
Yes, that's so important. And two, I believe also the entrepreneurial world, they're looking to the internet to say, how do I become this internet entrepreneur? Especially that group, right? And it's a lot of 6 figures that, 7 figures that, make all the money, get bags of money. And I would say when you ask me, have I reached my goal and have I empowered women? And what were the keys to that? While I haven't reached the quantity of people I hope that I know that I will, I have come up with some keys that I think are really important. And some of that is redefining success. Redefining success, that it doesn't mean money bags. It doesn't mean, you know, the fancy Ferrari. It really means your joy, your fulfillment, your purpose, and the service that you're creating on this planet, and the money will flow with that. So just sort of taking the magnifying glass and putting it internal rather than external, I think has been a big win for giving women the confidence that I've worked with, my team and I have worked with. And I think you're totally right. I think we have to ask those questions, like, what do I really want? And I don't think it's about dollars and cents and commas. I think it's about how we feel, how we flow, the time we have, the energy we exchange with one another, the communication we have, the relationships we have on this planet.
Absolutely. And what keeps you focused? Because you're doing a lot of the teaching, the mentoring, learning as you go as well. But what keeps you focused on your goals?
Well, daily meditation and this vision for my life that I continue to rehearse as though it's already happening. And my focus really, I can't remember who said it to me, but obviously several mentors have said the equivalent of stop making it about yourself, Paige. And so when I stop making it about myself, that's what keeps me focused. When I keep focusing on the people I can serve, the people I can help, the people that they're helping. For instance, one of our clients, Miranda, she just helped a man lose 60 pounds. That probably changed his family's life. That probably changed his kid's life. That probably added years to his life. And by helping Miranda and not focusing on myself, I was able to be a part of that ripple effect. So I talk about ripple effect a lot, and that's what keeps me focused. That's what keeps me motivated.
Who are your career inspirations? Now, past, present? future?
My career inspirations? Gosh. Well, I kind of call them my lifestyle goals. So the things that inspire me are, 1,000 Women Strong, helping women entrepreneurs go and create their massive impact on the planet. My inspirations are to live 9 months in my city, and during the 3 months of winter every year, explore somewhere new in the world, open up my heart to new cultures, new experiences, tropical places, beaches, and then I have this beautiful vision of something way bigger than myself and a foundation that's going to grow with my success. So that's one of the things that inspires me on a daily basis, including delivering laptops to kids around the world that don't have the access to technology that changed my life, and doing motivational and confidence trainings for them. So those are the things that inspire me. Of course, a lovely house, a lovely home, which I always feel like I'm blessed to have at my fingertips, but more so it's like the feeling of being alive and the things that we're doing on this planet. Those are the things that get me pumped up.
Excellent. Now, we touched base the other day, I believe it's yesterday, and you had mentioned a term, digital nomad life. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to the audience listening today, digital nomad life?
Yeah. So that to me means that I can put everything that I would need for my business into a backpack and travel, go anywhere. All I need is Wi-Fi, my laptop, my phone, a camera if I want an extra camera. But digital nomad just means that I'm nomadic. I can travel where I want. Like right now I'm in a spot for 2 months, and then I might move another couple months. I've always had that kind of energy about me. And one of the things that I really noticed is that there are so many professionals right now in the world who have the ability to have a digital life, but they're not necessarily doing it. So a really good example is like my own father. He's an attorney, but when the coronavirus scenario hit, he did not feel like he could just be at home with his laptop. He felt like he had to move filing cabinets, and he didn't know where all his files were. And like this massive clunky computer is plugged into this thing, and there's only one instance of that thing. And so for me, being a digital nomad is recognizing that the technology to have your entire business online and in the cloud has never been more possible than ever. And it gives you that sense of freedom. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen any of those documentaries around minimalists, when you start to strip away all the baggage that's caused.
Yeah, strip away the unnecessary. Absolutely. And I've learned that as I've grown older as well. In my 30s, it was starting to see that happening, but it was still something I put off to the side. Now, at 41, I'm seeing it and actually applying it. When I see it, I apply it immediately. And that's a trait that knowledge processes into wisdom. That's how I'm going to describe it, where it's not just a realization, it's actually making it happen. And it speaks volumes, because if others see that and realize what they really do need, and the difference between their wants and their needs is what I'm trying to say, it changes, it impacts their whole life, both personally and professionally, is my point of view on that.
Yeah. I think it's Abraham Hicks, who I follow a lot. She always talks about the thing that you think you want, you want it because you think it'll make you happier.
Absolutely.
And I think it's always getting back to just asking yourself that opportunity cost question of, well, do I want this massive fancy office that I rent downtown for $800 a month, or do I want a trip to Panama? Like, what will really bring me that joy? Is it the experience? Is it the thing? Is it the place? And it's so different for everybody. And that's the cool thing, is when you can remind people to tap into what is intuitively right for them instead of following what they've read, heard, watched, or have been told. That's when magic can happen in everybody's life.
Oh, agreed. And with you being CEO of Kismet Ideas, CEO and founder, 7 years now, this past May, would have been 7 years. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Tell us the services, you're welcome. Tell us about the services you offer and what your biggest challenge is creating your team as a mentor. It can be one or two things, whatever comes to mind in regards to that.
Okay. The services that we offer are graphic design, branding design, website design, sales funnels, automations. Basically, we help you build your #1 marketing assets on the internet. That's what we do for our clients. We also have recently discovered that our most successful clients, they are really in it for the long term with us. They don't want to just hire us for a website build and then we drop it in their lap and then they don't know what to do with it. So we also offer mastermind support where on a weekly basis, we talk to you about your vision, your goals, what you're going to build in your business. And then we build things quickly and incrementally over time instead of just one and done. So I'm really proud of what we do. You can check us out at kismetideas.com. And then your question about the biggest challenge to hiring a team.
Yes.
Gosh. Okay. Full-fledged, honest answer here. #1 is believing that we are the leader, like really stepping up as a leader, because it's really easy to connect with talented people because they're everywhere, and you can hire those people. But if you lose track of the fact that you are the one who needs to set the precedent, set the example, show up in a certain way, have the framework, build the morale and share the vision. If you forget that, then it can get kind of cumbersome. But talent is so cool. It's so easy to find. And that's the really exciting part. But yeah, I think the biggest challenge, like a lot of things in life, is what lives up here and what we really believe we're capable of.
Now, with the vision of Kismet Ideas and the skill set evolving, the world evolving, does the mission statement for the company evolve as well? Is that something you consider every few years or every year the mission statement evolves?
Yeah, it does. So Kismet means destiny. It's an English word. We just don't use it very often. And it's also in Arabic countries that they use it pretty colloquially. And I would say like our tagline has always been that we're destined to help others leave a lasting impact on the planet. That's our ripple effect. But we have, since the world has changed, reevaluated the way that we want to show up and who we want to serve. So I will say that we used to work with the big corporations, the big corporate brands, and now we're really interested in working with influencers, course creators, coaches, consultants, people that are they have a big vision and they just need the team to make it happen. And so my team becomes your team, and that's kind of how we're approaching it. So yeah, we've had a pivot in who we're serving, but not the overall mission. I would say like our overall mission is to help leave an impact.
Absolutely. Now, with COVID-19, of course, going on, you were featured in the Louisville Scoop, the local publication there a few years ago. Now, what I read there the other day, I believe it was yesterday, is that local musicians are fundraising because of local businesses they can't perform at. Same thing here in Winnipeg, same thing across the world. How do you keep entrepreneurs focused and not crestfallen, so to speak, on, is this ever going to end, meaning COVID? Is my opportunity dead in the water? How do you keep them motivated? Not just your teammates, team workers, but others who you're mentoring through these times.
Yeah. Oh man, that is a great one. That's a great one, because this is unprecedented, right, Aaron? I mean, we've never seen anything like this. Even when people say, oh, it's like the Spanish flu of 1920, you're like, I wasn't alive then.
Right.
Okay, yeah, feels just like that. Like,
yeah,
I wasn't alive. So that's a really good one, because I think that's something we're all grappling with, and I think it's okay to recognize that we've all had our low points the last couple of months where we thought, is this going to get any better? Am I going to be okay? Are so-and-so going to be okay? Are the musicians in my town going to be okay? Are the businesses going to be okay? Are they going to go under? And I think that we've all kind of gone through the ups and downs of the emotional feels on this one. So, gosh, the only way I can respond to that, I think, is that continual personal development and surrounding yourself with the people that are, 90% of the time positive and optimistic about what's possible, because none of us have really ever experienced this kind of quarantine and scenario in the world before. And so I think it's all about surrounding yourself with people that believe that there is opportunity to come out of this and believe that we're going to make it, and we're going to make it even better than it was before.
Exactly. And not perhaps using this as an excuse to say, well, this won't work because of that. and not surrounding yourself with those. Now, how does that look? Is that Zoom meetings? Is that like Instagram lives with mentors, with team workers? How does that look during COVID to keep focused with others who are like-minded for you?
Yeah, definitely Zoom, definitely FaceTime, definitely these video kind of conferences. And can we all remember that this wasn't possible even a decade ago? Like, this is so new and it's so amazing. So if we're going to ever have a time where we have to be shut down and in our homes, it's great that we have this technology here now. And I'm just so grateful for it. And I think that this technology is the same thing that we had at our fingertips before the world told us to go inside.
Right.
But we didn't really use it like we could. And so I want to also say that there's a lot of opportunity here in the online education space. So anyone who has expertise that's been sitting on it or teaching people locally, now is the time to take that expertise and put it online. I mean, the people that are seeing massive booms in their business are teaching online education. They're taking what they know and they're making it digital, creating members areas for their students, you know, interacting in Facebook groups, you name it. They're creating experiences for people that are both digital and will eventually be also in person. But yeah, I really think there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to connecting on the internet that we had months ago, we had in December, but we didn't necessarily utilize it. And so now it's like really in our face at this moment.
And it's the advantage. It's to be taken advantage of because that's what it's there for. Like, it was tailor made for that in a sense, without realizing that this was something that was going to come about. So I completely agree with you on that. Now, your noted career achievements was building and launching a crowdfunding website for Yacht Aid Global. Now, you collected 100,000 in donations under a month, and that was for Hurricane Irma. What does, for yourself personally and for Kesmet Ideas, what does your humanitarian goals look like in the short or long term? You can answer either or both.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. First of all, Aaron, I am so impressed. You did so much research, and I'm just incredibly honored and blessed by the energy that you put into the thoughtfulness of your questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So really good question. And I think it's worth me reflecting continually on what happened. So Hurricane Irma hit, it was in the Caribbean. Basically this organization called me up and they said, Paige, we have these yachts that the owners aren't using right now that we want to collaborate so that we can put aid on them and send relief efforts to the Caribbean. And I said, okay, sign me up. I'll help build this. And so it was like a bunch of pots of coffee, 4 days. And because he told me lives are at stake, and I was like, okay. And so we're in there, we're coding it and making all this happen. And they did. They collected $100,000 of donations in 2 weeks when they had just the right functionality on the website. That was the first time I realized that web design can actually save lives. Because before that, I was just thinking, oh, that's just a pretty page. That's just... And so it all finally started to connect the dots for me that our service in the world, we have to start looking at it as saving lives, whether it's metaphorically or literally, because otherwise it's meaningless. Otherwise our work on the planet is meaningless if we don't realize that it's serving people's lives. So that's a big thing for me. And then in terms of our philanthropic vision, it's what I mentioned around giving laptops to kids across the world, being a part of a young generation, especially in a school system. I want to go in and teach the things that unfortunately our school system aren't teaching in terms of young girls having confidence, in terms of young girls and young boys knowing personal finance, in terms of young people across this world knowing that our thoughts create our reality, and realizing that they need to focus on their emotional state every day, and how we show up in the world is the reflection of what we see back, and stuff that really isn't talked about or stressed enough. So that's my vision. I want to get back to the youth and do so by being incredibly successful for our clients, so that we have that energy and that income to then give back in those ways.
Amazing. Now, would you find a challenge more so with those type of courses for male and females at a younger age, or grown adults, say older than yourself or myself or around our age?
It's much harder for us to rewire our thinking. It's easier logically for us to go, oh yeah, our thoughts create our reality. But
Yeah.
actually, scientifically, our 90% of what we do in our behaviors is hardwired by the age of 35. So I'm like, I've got 1 year, time's ticking. um, it's like time's now. But I
Yeah.
would say that it's just as relevant and just as important for us as adults to really have these hard conversations. You know, if you have someone in your life that you love, like, I'll give you an example of my own hard conversations. It's a lot easier for me to tell a kid, like my nephew, hey,
Mhm.
nephew, like, think really rad things, think positive things. Not only will you feel better and have more fun in life, but you'll create more things that you're thinking about. It's easier for me to tell my nephew that than my father, right?
Right.
When we tell our mom and dad, we're like, yo, you're just being a Debbie Downer. Like, that never ends well.
No, it
um,
isn't true. And I could attest to that as well. And the thing is, imagination. For somewhere along the lines, I've determined or realized in life, and these aren't my words, but just interpretation, and I feel it's true to form, is that somewhere along the lines, not all of us, but a lot of us, unfortunately, have lost our imagination that we had when we were a kid. We come to a point where we're adults and feel that those ideas are whimsical, those ideas are not realistic, ideas are will be laughed at. It's always, again, worried about others' reactions and emotions toward things. I find when myself personally, it didn't happen. I lost it a long time ago, my imagination, probably in my 20s, or, you know, as I went into university and had this inclination, this is the path. And I grew from that, and I found myself at 41 is that I've rediscovered my imagination up until this point, because I recently turned 41, but I would say hitting my 40s, I rediscovered my imagination. And it is the most amazing thing because it brings about what I really want to portray myself as to the world and what my skill set available to the world is, as well as what I can bring out in others, because it's not about me, it's about the bigger picture. So that's my personal testimony in regards to something along those lines, which you just mentioning. So
I love that. What are some of the things that you've been imagining for yourself, like to round out this year even?
this podcast, continuing with my acting, music, theater. I say it like that, theater, as if I like, but that's truly how I feel, and that's what I mean. It's those kind of things I would be shy to accentuate because I'm worried about what others think. This was many moons ago, say 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now it's about really expanding and finding others, not who are just on the same page, but finding it in them, finding that in others themselves. Does that make sense? Finding others when they may not even know they have that skill. And it's through such as the podcast talk show as this. It's just communication. It all comes down to that, to answer your question. Those are tidbits along the way, but it all comes down to communication, being open to talking to the public, being open to learning about others, even if it's a scenario I can't relate to, but embracing that. And that's huge because people need that embrace and need to not have to look for it. People should be able to find it in them. And it brings out their skill sets and things they might not even have known about themselves, right? That's how I see it. So great question as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think also too, it's the willingness to imagine and then not shoot it down. Like,
Right.
for me, I mean, an example of, I know we said we have to redefine success and it's not about money, but I have millionaire friends. I'm not a millionaire yet. And I
Mhm.
can imagine, right? I can like get into the meditative state and I'm like, I'm imagining myself as the millionaire.
Yes.
But then the minute I insert the doubt, no, that's not real. That's just me imagining it. That's not real.
It's
That's
just,
when it won't become a thing. So definitely, like, I think this is such a good conversation to encourage everyone to embrace that imagination you're having right now without inserting the doubt, without taking the reality and going, nope, this is what I know. This
yeah.
is just what things are. This is how things are. Because we know so many stories of people who have been living one way 1 minute and then things are completely different. And it's because they imagined it and then they did not put the doubt into the mix.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And it's a lot of that self-doubt, and that's what I would have in my 20s. And one of the most important things I've learned, not only from guests that have, including yourself, that have been on the show, is talking about vulnerabilities and not shying away from learning curves, as I was mentioning earlier, from successes, but yet addressing the failures that led to those successes. Because every problem is a success in disguise, really. It comes down to that, and that's what I've learned. That's another thing that's helped me, another note that's helped me along in life, because it really does come down to that, because no one is perfect, and we all have to learn and adapt So that means there's going to be mistakes made along the line. And it's not about listening to the naysayers and the noise, proverbial noise, so to speak. It's saying that something is, even that inner voice might be that noise saying that this is not going to work. No, it is. If all the right steps are taken, if all the right approach is taken, right? So, yeah, absolutely. What does downtime look for you? What does it sound like? What does it feel like, downtime?
Uh, Thinking about my business. No, downtime. Downtime looks like time with family, playing with my nephew, hanging out with my sisters, or sister and brothers. And I also love cards. My grandparents taught me how to play a bunch of card games. So poker, rummy, board games, all those kind of things. And I love live music. So I am so pumped about the world opening back up because I'm ready to go to some concerts, some live music shows, support all my musician friends. I'm ready to be out there. Absolutely.
Now, the last segment is what I call the 7. So 7 rapid fire questions, not that rapid fire, but 7 questions in succession.
Okay.
And it sounds a little bit like this. So will Kesmet Ideas expand into Canada?
Yes, already done.
Excellent. Best advice for up-and-coming entrepreneurs?
Believe in yourself and stay true to your intuition.
Language you'd like to learn or master next?
I'd like to master Portuguese and learn Spanish next.
Nice. Whale watching or bird watching?
Whale watching, anytime I can be on the ocean.
The biggest misconception people might have about you?
That I've got it all together.
Rowing or kayaking?
Kayak?
Kayaking?
Yeah.
Okay. And will you be back on RoseNthorn Talk in the future?
Please, anytime.
Right answer. Paige, it was amazing talking with you. You inspire so many, including myself, with what you do. And this was a conversation for the ages. And I really want others who are listening to be inspired. It will be replaying on my Instagram Live for the next 24 hours. It'll be on my YouTube channel, Aaron Marshall Clark. It'll be on there within the next couple hours once it's processed. Any shout outs? And your social media as well. Any shout outs to any mentors, teammates, and your social media as well, so people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, well, shout out to you. Thank you for arranging this. Aaron, this is awesome, tremendous. I'm incredibly grateful. Shout out to my team, to Michelle Aiden, who's helping me grow things, Colette Rubishow, who's helping me edit videos and staying looking polished. Our newest graphic designer, Addison, who's just like, I'm already crushing it. And shout out to really the city of Louisville, if I may, because I love my hometown and I know we're going to get through this. And I would say also, I just want to give thanks to every single person on this planet that is fighting for unity or not fighting for it, peacefully, creating an essence of us all being one human race on this planet right now, taking care of one another and being kind. So thank you to everybody who's doing that, because that is absolutely what this world needs, is peace, wonderful unity, justice, kindness, all that sort of thing. So you can find me at Paige Battcher. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, the places. Just check out Paige Battcher, and please send me a message if you want help with your website design or any of your graphics or your funnels. Let's talk.
Words of wisdom, amazing charisma. Paige Battcher, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for everybody for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.